This is Abe Friedtanzer from Awards Buzz, and I'm so excited to be speaking with Elisabeth Moss about The Handmaid's Tale. How are you today?
I'm lovely. I'm excited to be speaking to you.
Anybody watching this will be after the season has already aired, but we're talking right now, 2 days after the final season has premiered its first three episodes. And I'm curious, how are you feeling now that a little bit of the last of the show is out there in the world?
I'm feeling excited because the reception has been really, really fantastic and lovely. And we worked so hard on this season. And everyone worked so hard on this season. And we didn't have, to be candid, it's not like we had a lot more money and a lot more time. In fact, kind of the opposite. Without blowing up anyone's spot. So the fact that we were able to, you know, leave it all out on the field and accomplish what we wanted to accomplish and get the reception that we've gotten, it really means a lot. So I feel that way about it. I feel sort of relieved and excited.
When the show first started 8 years ago and production before then, did you have any sense that this could run this long?
No, I can't believe I'm saying some point at the end of the final two episodes, I calculated and finally realized that I had spent 9 years doing this show and then 9 years doing Mad Men, which means that I've spent 18 years of my life doing just those two TV shows. That blows my mind because I never in a million years would have thought that those two jobs would have been so fruitful in a way and allowed me to have a job for so long and a great job that I love and I'm so appreciative of. So, no, never in a million years would have thought that.
I also imagine these two shows have very different vibes and working environments, even though there's some very specific costumes for both of them.
You know what? The perception about Handmaid's Tale is that it's a serious environment. It's like the most lovely, fun, collaborative, light, funny work environment. Like we have, honestly, when people aren't working their butts off, we have so much fun. And it's not easy. It's incredibly challenging, but I don't think we would be able to get through it if we didn't have the kind of positive attitudes that we have. And it was the same on Mad Men. I mean, that was such a fun set to be on, obviously, with all those funny, smart, brilliant people. So, and honestly, it was the same on the West Wing. And I was just saying to Brad the other day, like, I was said to him, I was like, I don't know if you know this, but I learned how a set should be from you and from Allison Janney and from John Spencer and from Martin Sheen, like Richard Schiff. I learned how it's supposed to be fun and how you're supposed to take the work seriously, but not yourself seriously, you know?
I do like when some of that, trickles into the show because we don't get a lot of direct on-screen humor, but I feel like Bradley Whitford is one of the primary sources of that, especially as, Joseph and June have become a lot less filtered towards each other. They're the only people within the bounds of Gilead who just talk to each other like normal human beings all the time.
For sure. And I think that there's something about the friendship that Brad and I have. We've known each other for 25 years. And I don't think there's any actor I've worked with that I've known for 25 years. So there's a lot of friendship there and there's a lot of trust. And I do think that lends itself to something on screen that even though June and Lawrence haven't known each other for 25 years, there's something in there. There's something that feels special. And it allows us to be comfortable with each other. It allows us to be open with each other as characters. You know what I mean?
I also, if I'm remembering correctly, I enjoyed the discussion of Nick being Angelina Jolie hot. I think that's the exact line of dialogue.
Yes. I
I,
can't
I feel like,
exact line of dialogue. I think it's like we get into like how hot is he? Is he Angelina Jolie hot? Is he Rihanna hot? Or maybe that was ad libbed. I think we were talking like we had ad libbed Rihanna, and then there was like was it Angela Bassett? It's like Angela Bassett hot. I can't remember. There were different women that we were going over, and some were ad libs. So I don't know I forget what actually ended up in the show.
Well, one of the things that I love most about the show is that there are such like swelling moments of hope that sometimes end in total devastation. And that's happened a number of times throughout. And I think from what I've seen of the final season, the single greatest moment like that is when it seems like there's finally this love with Nick and then that ultimate reveal of his betrayal. Can you talk about just what went into that scene and that path for a character who I think a lot of people do like, but probably don't like quite as much now?
Yeah, so funny because speaking of, there's a much bigger moment of hope that ends in devastation coming up in the two episodes you haven't seen, but the ones that perhaps somebody watching this has seen, and they'll know what I'm talking about. We're not going to spoil it for you, but they'll know. Um, yeah, I feel like we really needed to bring these characters to some different places, but also kind of force them to make some definitive choices. And Luke has to choose whether or not he's going to join the fight, whether or not he's going to be active, whether or not he's going to become a part of Mayday and insist on, in a really active way, being a part of the resistance in a way that he hasn't been before. And he has to make that choice. Nick has to decide, is he going to go to the dark side or the light? Who is he going to be loyal to? And he's one of those people that he's told her who he is for the entire 6 seasons. Like he's been honest about himself. He never said that he was a part of the resistance. He never said that he supported Mayday. He never said any of that. All he's ever said is that he loves June. All he's ever said is that she's the only thing that matters in his life. He's been honest about who he is. And I think June just didn't want to see that. I think she hasn't wanted to see who he might really be. And he is forced to make a choice. And he makes his choice. And I think he doesn't realize it how bad it is. I don't think he makes it thinking I'm gonna lose June. I don't think he knows that.
It's been so interesting seeing us also Serena Joy, just the fact that I think she went through a redemption arc and then sort of came out past it and now might be sort of heading the other way in a sense. Just it's always hard to figure out how we're supposed to feel about her. And I think it's clearest in the moments where she's just like, June, we've both hurt each other, and we're sort of even now. And then it's when she just clearly doesn't understand it. But we also see the suffering that she goes through, especially in her what should be a new wonderful marriage that just doesn't work out like that.
Yeah, I'm the most empathetic probably towards Serena, more than Yvonne is. I think we always talk about the fact that I'm more on Serena's side than I think Yvonne is. And I really feel like she's, oh, hello, I'm being interrupted. I'm so sorry. Hold on 1 second. I've hijacked a restaurant, like a room at a restaurant at a hotel that's closed right now. And I think he was just trying to see if I wanted anything. Um, um,
Okay.
I think that Serena is always in a way going to be Serena, and June is always going to want her to make the right choice again. You know what I mean? It's about choice once again. Like June wants to not give up on Serena, but Serena just somehow always doesn't quite get there and doesn't quite do what we want her to do. Now there are 2 episodes left that you haven't seen. So, there might be something in there, but I think that ultimately Serena needs June's forgiveness. And I think the reason why she needs it is because she knows that June knows her better than anyone. Like if anyone knows who Serena is, it's June, with her good qualities and her bad qualities. And so, of course, Serena wants the approval and forgiveness from that person. We don't want the person to approve of us who only knows the good side. We want the person who knows the bad side and the flaws too. That's the person we want to love us, you know? And I think that's true for Serena.
Well, even though I'm missing those key two last episodes, the part I did just see was Aunt Lydia's big moment, and that's a character who I feel like we were once rooting for her to, die, and I think it was season two with everything there with Alexis, and I feel like this is a complete the fact that there was the chance to like take her out, and that's not at all what happened. Is just such an interesting direction. I'm curious to hear your take on her as a character.
Yeah. Um, we just rewatched the clip. We watched a clip from episode 3 where June almost kills her and then decides not to. And she says, I think she says, don't do it, don't do it. And June decides not to. So interesting looking at that episode, knowing where we end up. Similar thing as to what I was just saying about Serena. I think no one knows Aunt Lydia the way June does, and no one sees her the way June does. And so there's no one who can speak to her in that moment the way that June can. And it's what I love about television. I got to tell you, like, looking back on now what is 18 years of my career, I've really come to understand like what it is that I love doing. And I love movies too. Like, of course, I love watching movies. I love going to the movies, like I love doing movies. But there's something about television that what I really love is the immersive quality of getting to spend 9 years with not only my character, but with the other characters in the show. And the fact that you get to have this relationship with a character like Lydia, that doesn't happen if you only do 2 hours of something. Like if you do, in the case of Mad Men, 92 episodes, you get to like have that relationship. I think we're at like 60 something, maybe late 60s with Handmaids. Then you get to have that scene in episode 8 with Lydia where you get to walk in and I don't even have to like yell. I don't have to be super emotional. I don't have to like do anything except to speak the truth in that moment with that stunning speech written by Yalin Chang. I just get to speak the truth directly to Lydia. And like, that's something that like, I love. That's why I love television. That's why I love doing a long running drama series. Like, to me, it's my favorite format.
You've also started directing. I know you directed the first two episodes, which I know are great, and the last two episodes, which I assume are great. What is it like just being on that side of it, and how does that change your investment in the project, which I know you're also an executive producer?
Yeah, it's really changed my involvement as an actor. It's changed my involvement as a producer. I've had this incredible trajectory on this show of being able to go from being quote unquote just an actor to starting to produce and really produce on in like a meaningful way, becoming more and more and more and more involved, and then yeah, taking on starting to direct as well, which is just this kind of other path that I'm able to go down. And for me it just enhances the acting part. For me it just feeds into the acting part. Like I think I'm a better actor having started directing. Like I think I'm a better actor having started producing, and I think the acting lends itself to the directing. Of course it does. It I feel like has just deepened my love for what I do. It's deepened my understanding of what I do. Like I've done this for, I guess when I started directing, now I've done it for 36 years. When I started directing, I must have done it for like maybe 32 years. Um, and I thought I knew everything about, I mean, a lot of everything, but a lot about what we do. Like I've been on set my whole life. Like I said, like 18 years making just 2 shows. Like I thought I was pretty knowledgeable. I had no idea. The things that I learned as a producer and a director are completely different. Like it's a completely different experience, and I know so much more about this art form than I did before. So for me, it's just opened up my whole viewpoint of what it is that I do and made me kind of, I think, fall in love with it again. I think I needed it. I think I needed to broaden my horizon a little bit. I needed to challenge myself a little bit. Um, I needed it, I think.
I usually ask this question to supporting players, and I'm curious because I feel like you probably, as the lead, have worked with almost everybody. Is there anybody in this cast that over these 6 seasons, 60 plus episodes, you just never got to share a scene with or never time with, and you wish that there was more for June and that person?
I don't think there's anyone that June hasn't worked with. Um, is there? I don't think so. I mean, no. There's like might be day players or people who've come in and done a guest star in one episode. Even those people most likely crossed June's path. Um, I don't think there's anyone I haven't worked with on the show. I don't think so. The fan is probably going to be like, "You never worked with blah blah." It'll be like in the comments down below. But I can't think of anyone. It's a little confusing now though because as a director, I've worked with everyone. I've done 10 hours of this show. I've done 10 episodes. So I've I've gotten to everyone now, I feel like.
You have a favorite episode?
Ooh, of the whole show or the
Yeah,
season.
we can do the season also, whichever.
Oh my god.
I didn't give you any prep time, so that's fair. Not to
No,
hold you to this.
I should have an answer. It's hard. They're like, I was just saying this to my editor because you have to like pick episodes and stuff for FYC and all that, and like I was like, I like them all. I like them all for different reasons. Some I like more for acting reasons, some I like more for directing, some I like more because I think that actor did an amazing job in it. Like, okay, let me be serious though. So, okay, I can't pick one from this season, but I do think that 9 and 10 are two of my favorite. They're definitely my two favorite episodes of this season, and they're probably top three favorite episodes or four favorite episodes of the series. Forgive me, this is way too detailed of an answer, and you were expecting just a
I love
quick.
it. That's no, that's what I wanted. Detail.
Okay.
Detail's great.
I can't divorce 9 and 10 from each other. I think because we prepped them together, we shot them together, we're in post on them together. So for me, they are intrinsically linked and they are the end of the series for me. And one doesn't work without the other. Like you can't have 9 without 10, you can't have 10 without 9. They're not standalone. Like to me, they really are a pair. They're very, 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 very different. Very different. Like they may as well have been completely different, like that required very different skills. um Nine's written by Eric Tuchman, Ten's written by Bruce Miller. They're just so different, so for me, like it's not that they're the same, but I can't unsee the fact that they're together, so I'm gonna say 9 and 10. Yeah.
I know that Hulu just announced The Testaments, which is a new show set in the same universe, and I assume it's going to be a House of the Dragon, Game of Thrones situation where like it's so separate that like we'll have a narrator and Aunt Lydia, but otherwise won't see characters. But is this the last of June, or do you think there's any possibility that we would see June on screen in some capacity with you playing her in the future? Or can
Well,
you not answer that? Maybe
I'm like, how do I
that's
I feel like, well, first of all, we don't have all the scripts yet, so I don't know the answer to the question really. I would never say never. I think that, we end June's story the way that we wanted to end it with this story, with the Handmaid's Tale, quite literally. And, but that's not the end of Gilead. And as you know, not spoiling anything, that's what the Testaments is about. Gilead is not over. So unless June dies, you haven't seen the last two, so you don't know.
true. Well, I have enjoyed watching what you've been doing in the meantime because it's been a long break since season between season 5 and 6. What we've seen, Next Goal Wins, The Veil was a lot of fun, and I also saw this film called Shell at the Toronto International Film Festival last year, which I think people would be excited by the idea of you reuniting with Max, even though he's not actually in the film. But all three of those projects, I think, are a lot lighter in tone than this, and I'm curious if that's sort of what you're moving towards next.
I think it's impossible not to kind of go towards something lighter when I've been doing something that's such a heavy material for sure. Um, I mean, I'm not about to go and like do a comedy. Um, well, I shouldn't say that. It's just that like I don't know if that is my skill set. Um I think it's really difficult. Like I don't think comedy is easy. So I do think drama is maybe perhaps more my wheelhouse. But that said, like I do love stuff like Taika's material, like what we did with Shell and Max's movie, like even The Veil had it was fun. It was there was drama and there was some serious stuff, but it was also really fun and entertaining and it was like a spy, exciting, sexy kind of thing. And I like that. And I think that um, my favorite shows are Hacks and Veep and things that are lighter. And so it's hard not for me to not gravitate towards that after doing something like this for 9 years. With that said, watch like a year from now, you're going to be like, oh, she signed on to like Sophie's Choice, the series. You're going to be like, oh, okay.
Well, Cats is actually back for its most recent season today. I'm curious, though
It's,
that's one of your favorite shows. It's back today, yeah.
oh, I didn't even know that. That's so exciting.
Yeah. But what else are you watching right now? What else are you really enjoying getting to see that you're not part of?
Okay, so there's definitely a lot of shows that I haven't gotten to yet because of doing all of this press that I really do want to get to. Like mid-century, I really want to watch. I really want to watch The Studio. I have to catch up on Severance because I loved the first season. Um, God, I feel like I'm behind on so much stuff. What if I've actually, this is so, you know what, you want to know what I've really been watching? Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. That's the honest truth. I wish I had something classier for you, but
Oh,
that's
that's fair. Yeah.
uh,
Well, when I knew I'd be speaking with you, I went to look back just through, some of your credits because I wanted to make sure. I always like to look back for something a long time ago that I really enjoy. And for me, that's Listen Up, Philip.
oh
And
yeah.
you gave such a passionate, speech about television, how much you love it. But I think there's also this really wonderful world of independent film, which I don't think Shell quite fits into because I think that's like a genre project in itself. But Listen Up, Philip, and some of those other films you made around that time, do you have a certain affinity for that? And is that something you'd like to do again in the future?
I do. It's so funny you said that because I was literally talking to someone recently about I was like, I need to text Alex Ross Perry because we're definitely due for another movie. We've made three together and we usually make them every like few years and it's been too long, so we definitely need to make another movie together. I just was saying this and I actually was saying I need to get Jason Schwartzman in it because I haven't gotten to, well, I worked with him on the Wes Anderson movie, but I haven't really gotten to like work with him very much since then. So I would love to do something with either of them or the both of them. And I was really, really excited when Anora won Best Picture because not only is it a beautiful movie, but I was so excited to see an indie film made in New York kind of take home that big prize. Like that's those are the kinds of movies when I make movies, those are the kinds of movies I've made. Like I made like, by the way, Invisible Man had a small budget. Like we made a lot of money at the box office, but like it was not a big budget movie. It was a Blumhouse film. So those are the kinds of movies I make. And that's the world I know. And even though it's a movie, I've made three movies with Alex. So like it still has that family feeling that I love of like working with the same people over and over. So yeah, I've actually, it's funny you mentioned that because I have been thinking because of all the TV I've been doing, like I haven't gotten the chance to do those indie films that I were my bread and butter for so long. Or not bread and butter, just the bread, no butter.
I also remember your small but very, very unforgettable performance in The Square, which I think is its own kind of genre. And I think Ruben has really blown up in a lot of ways since then, but that's its own kind of thing where just like the awkwardness is what makes it. And I like the June is pretty blunt and direct, I would say, but that character especially is quite unfiltered in a great way.
I just like I loved doing that, and I loved working with him. And I was actually supposed to work with him again, and I couldn't because of I was doing something else. I can't remember if it was Handmaids or if it was Apple Show at the time. But anyway, I love doing so that's but that feels very indie film to me because of the European film structure where they really appreciate the artist and they put the director first, and it feels very experimental, and it has a little bit more of the indie film feeling to me. I've always wanted to be one of those actresses who can work in different countries. So yeah, well, there's still time left, I guess.
You have that accent from The Veil always to lean back on if you need.
Yeah, or I need to learn a different language.
Well, not everyone is so lucky to be on shows that are gonna, take 9 years of their lives. And I'm curious what advice you would give to people getting their first, series regular roles on shows, what to do just to have the right attitude to go in and appreciate things the right way.
Mm. I think the number one thing that I try to do when I start a show is really um, create a kind and collaborative and fun atmosphere. I think that the way that you approach the work is the way that, I feel like you need to make sure that you there's no ego on a set. I don't think there should be an ego on a set. I think that everyone should be treated with the same respect. And so I've learned that from other people higher on the call sheet. I've taken that to my work, I've taken that to my sets, and I've tried to pass that on to other people who are starting that, or their first time as number one on the call sheet, or their first time doing a long running series or as a regular. I think it's so important that when you step onto that set in the morning, you are bringing the attitude of we are doing this together, we are a group, we have the same goals, and we are going to be united in that, and we're going to accomplish this together. And it's so easy, I think, for you to be like, well, I have to do my job, and then I'm just going to go back to my trailer, and I'm just not going to be worried about anything. And I'm like, no, get involved, like learn as much as you can. This is your show. This is your thing that you're communicating. And so I think that that's something that I try to remember myself always. Like it's constant, like I constantly have to work on it myself and bring it myself. And I would say to anyone starting out on a show is like, this is your show. This is your family.
I love that. I think that's really great, a wonderful attitude, and obviously has served you very well, over the years.
Thank you.
And I am looking forward to those last two episodes, some of your favorites, to your return to the independent film scene, the international scene, and maybe even a little bit more of June in the future.
Thank you. Me too.
Such a pleasure. Thank you so much for taking the time.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I hope you enjoy the last two.
Thank you. So nice to meet you. Hope to see you again soon.
Yeah. Thank you.